Good afternoon, everyone. I'm LaGloria Weedfall with NAESP. I want to welcome you all to this afternoon's webinar entitled Ready, Set, Go, Resources to Support After-School and Summer Learning Programs. I like to also make a note that all attendees are muted, but feel free to add your comments or questions in the question box and we'll answer those at the end. This webinar is being recorded, so please download and view the webinar in PDF at naesp.org/webinars. I'd now like to turn it over to Gail Morgan.
Thank you, LaGloria, and welcome everyone to our second convening of the inaugural After School and Summer Learning Virtual Summit. We're delighted that you've joined us today, and as LaGloria said, I'm Gail Morgan, Associate Executive Director of Professional Learning for the National Association of Elementary School Principals. And we appreciate the technical assistance of LaGloria today. She is our NASP Digital Communications Associate, and she's helping to make today's conversation happen. So thank you, LaGloria. The summit is provided by NASP with a goal to provide principals and key program leaders of after-school and summer learning programs with knowledge, with skills, with the resources to meet the social, emotional, and academic needs of your students. And so in our conversation today, Ready, Set, Go, Resources to Support After-School and Summer Learning Programs, it's just one of 3 webinars. Last week, we heard from leading researchers in the field about the foundational pieces that are needed for an effective program. We also had a principal that shared about the innovative things that was happening in her program, and we explored several tools and resources that are available on the NASP website, and they're just a click away for principals and program directors. In addition to last week and today's convening, we have one more conversation. So if you have not registered yet, we invite you to join us and to share that with fellow people that are in the after school and summer network business so that they can join our conversation. And the registration for that summit for next week is available on the NASP website. Okay, LaGloria, can move to the next slide. The foundational work of this platform and the resources, so one more point, there you go, have been made possible through a partnership between the Charles M. Mott Foundation and NASP. And the premise for our conversations are being launched from a recent NAESP Principal Magazine, this is a supplement that was with the Principal Magazine. So you possibly, if you're a principal, a member of NASP, or you're in our database, then you possibly have already received that. If you're a member of the Afterschool network, possibly you have received one through them through this partnership. That there's a lot of quality information in that resource, and it's also part of our portal that we're going to be talking about today. So let's see who's with us today. If you'll just take a moment to, LaGloria's going to post a poll, and if you would just tell us what your current role is in your school or your district right now. Are you an elementary level principal, a middle level principal? When we say principal, that could be assistant principal or principal. Maybe you're a program director leading a program, or you could be in the other category. You might be with an association or with higher ed and someone else. So we'll register your response at your current position now. LaGloria, if you can just report out for us and let us know our percentages so we'll know our audience.
Right now, it's 29% elementary principal, 0% middle level, 29% program director, and 43% other.
Okay, that's 29. How many was elementary, LaGloria?
We're still getting numbers. It just changed. It's 38% elementary school, 0% middle level, 25% program director, and 38% other.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Appreciate that. That kind of helps us to know how to frame our thoughts. And really, regardless of your position, if you have a voice and you have a hand in after school and summer learning, all of the information that's going to be shared today, the resources that are available, the people that are going to be sharing, it's adaptable in our leadership roles. So nationally, we have very diverse schools, programs, and student needs. And so as we hear from the different leaders in different roles and from different levels, think about and focus on just a few tips that you can implement differently from what you're currently doing. But to begin our program today, we're going to visit our portal, and we're going to view a really short video of a rural school in Vermont.
Kingdom After School is operated by Caledonia North Supervisory Union. We're located in a very rural part of Vermont. There's a need here. We don't have a rec department in this area. There's no summer school programming in this area. This is the time for these students to get this opportunity for different learning. We're going to have about 5 minutes to work on a solution to the challenge. After-school program in our school is provided for kindergarten students through 8th grade. We have tutoring that's offered. We have 5 different sessions throughout the year, and each session is tailored a little differently based on the seasons. We are funded primarily by a 21st Century grant. We offer a structure where outside partners can bring grants that they've gotten into the program, and we implement them, so that brings a lot of different kinds of experiences to the school.
You get the excitement just based on something they haven't seen before. It makes them so much more attentive, so much more engaged and ready to learn.
We see a result in our test scores. That's an important outcome. Kids are getting that sort of double dip of academic support. You know, it's just opening doors that they wouldn't have open otherwise. I think if you have the vision, you then need to go out into your community to bring it to fruition.
Are you guys ready for gardening? We are the Bridges After School program at Northfield Elementary School, and we're located in Northfield, Vermont.
We provide after-school care as soon as the bell rings. Kids come to us and they have options of enrichment programming every day.
One thing that I can tell you about Northfield is that it is an amazing community when it comes to developing community partnerships.
One of our amazing community partners is Norwich University. We have Norwich students that are with us from the beginning of the school year till almost right up until the end.
You guys are working so well together.
There's been a real commitment to not just make activities to fill the time, but to present sort of strands that'll grab kids' interest and keep them engaged.
The classroom doesn't always show students skills, as opposed to when they're in archery or when they're developing social skills that necessarily aren't developed in the classroom.
These social emotional skills that they are gaining here, while it might not be math, science, English, I mean, it actually translates into their, learning during the school day.
In Bridges, you're kind of playing and learning. Here, we're learning how to garden, so that could be part of our life when we get older.
Point these up, just perfect.
I think what's really unique in my experience with this after-school program, it is not a standalone turnkey type of thing.
And we know what's happening with the kids during the school day, so that when they come to us, we can anticipate and we can buffer, whatever their environment might be, so that it's supportive for them.
Yeah, there are many at-risk students that we have in the community as a result of poverty, and we also have some very well-to-do families, and we're a community where a program like this is able to support all students.
It's more than just something like a daycare. This is an opportunity for us to enhance students' lives.
I love Bridges After School.
Great, thank you. Amy Gale serves as principal of Linden Town School in Vermont. Principal Gale is with us today to further explain some exciting things that are happening in their school.
Webinar on Principals, Leaders of Literacy. We're so happy this afternoon to have with us Dr. Douglas Fisher, who's the international and award-winning author and professor of language.
Gloria, yeah.
I'm Amy Gale, and I am excited to talk to you a little bit about the strong partnerships that we have built with the school staff, as well as the after-school staff, our community organizations, and community experts that are in our area. We are a rural school, a pre-K to 8 school of about 500 students. We are in a rural location outside of the village center, so students need to have transportation, and that's a part of our after-school program. We have a focus on outcomes and providing high interest programming for students, and we balance that with feedback that we get from students about what they have enjoyed and what they would like to do, as well as exposing them to new experiences that we know are relevant and appropriate for them. Another thing that we work hard to do is we want to capitalize on the personal interests and expertise of our school day staff to extend the excitement that they have in their interests to opportunities for students in the after-school program. And as you heard in that short video, we leverage our 21C funding money with organizations who may have their own funding sources so that we can bring programming from other organizations as in-kind contributions and provide programming for students. One example of that would be the partnership that we have with the University of Vermont, which has an extension office near us. So we partner our school staff with some of the after-school staff to go to trainings that they offer that have resulted in us being able to provide programming called Tech Wizards. And that includes some STEM design challenges, a makerspace provided for after-school programming like robotics and rocketry that are a partnership of the supplies and materials provided through the UVM Extension Office and the staffing provided through our after-school and school day staff that are involved in the after-school programming. Another example of this is a local organization that provides ecological adventures, Siskin. We contract with them to provide some programming during the school day for our 7th graders. At the beginning of the school, they do 3 days of team building with our students, but then we have extended that into the after-school program so that they are providing programming in a variety of ways and at a variety of grade levels for students, things like archery, survival skills, recycling, those kinds of outdoor programming that's very engaging for students. I also mentioned that we really try to capitalize on the interests and passions of our school day staff and be able to allow them to provide programming through the after-school program. An example of this would be one of our middle school social studies teachers has a real love of history and a passion for helping kids to catch that love of history. And during the school day, they're choosing high interest historical figures or historical events to research and present on. In the after-school program, he provides a History Day club, and students can, if they're in his school day class, they can extend that learning there, or other students are able to participate in the history club and get the support of the guidance that he provides as they research and present on a historical event or figure. And these students go on to local and state competitions, and then we've had several students go on to national competitions in Washington, D.C., all because of this teacher's love of history and our partnership with After School to provide the opportunity for that programming to be a part of After School. Another example would be we have 3 teachers who have a love of drama, and so the After School program is providing an opportunity for them to bring musicals and other drama presentations for students to participate in. I think that one of the most important things I wanted to share is the collaborative culture and shared leadership that's the foundation for the opportunities that are able to happen and the partnerships that we've been able to build. I've taken the lead in my building to create a culture in the school where we view after school as an extension of our educational program during the day. And the after school program has become the umbrella under which any after school activities fall. The after-school infrastructure provides the framework for the school day staff and community programmers to be able to provide opportunities for students. For example, the example of the drama and the teachers who are doing that, they don't have to worry about parent notices, they don't have to worry about scheduling, they don't have to worry about following up on details of things. They can focus on the activities with the students, and the infrastructure of the after-school program provides all of those other details. Another piece that's important, I think, is great communication and between myself as the principal, our after-school program director, and our after-school program site coordinator. We meet regularly, and I can bring information about the content that's being focused on during the school day, the activities and events that are coming up, and they bring me information about opportunities for partnerships with community organizations or community experts, and we find the connections between the two. And sometimes that is an opportunity for a school day staff to be offering one of those interests or passions that they have during the after school programming. So that consistent meeting time to share that information, really partner together, really helps us to build a strong program. I think it's also modeling an important and strong relationship for my staff, the school day staff, about how we view after school program as an integral part of the overall educational program that we're able to offer. So constantly working on communication so that everybody knows what's going on. So just to summarize, I feel like our strong partnerships that we've been able to have success with are built on a strong culture of collaboration. You have to know what your interests of your students are. You have to pursue partnerships with community organizations and community experts. You want to leverage the hobbies and interests of your school day staff. And you want to meet regularly as school leaders with the after school program leadership and promote after school program as an extension of the entire educational program of your school. So I hope those are some helpful tips from the perspective of a rural principal.
Thank you, Amy. Yes, those are, and so very important, because many times I think we often think that being in a rural area, that means, diminished opportunities for our students. So it's encouraging to hear the way that you're capitalizing on that. You've given us some great ideas, and I love the piece of the personal interest and the passion of interweaving your staff interest in with your students. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. After school and summer learning, it looks so different. It sounds so different all across the United States, and that's a good thing. That's a great thing. But that means that leaders are focusing on students and the needs of their specific population and what those needs are. So let's look briefly at the arts and how they're being infused at Arnold Elementary School in Maryland.
Arts integration at Arnold is a part of who we are and how we educate students. With art, we're able to clearly see all the thoughts a student has and how they're understanding the concepts.
When schools embrace creative teaching and learning, they develop a community and a culture of risk-taking, stepping outside of the box. We don't just memorize answers, we discover new answers.
Because the arts are such an integral part of our school day and who we are as a school, it was a natural next step for us to continue it into an after-school program. Right after dismissal, students head to their club and they get to extend art into the afternoon. Clubs usually run weekly and they last for an hour right after school. Currently, we have several parents that come in and assist who are also artists themselves that like to share their expertise with our students.
They're constantly doing hands-on activities from clay to collage to paper mache. It's self-expression. It allows them, after a whole day at school, to kind of calm themselves and express themselves.
Children are active learners. We need to create. We need to apply ideas in a relevant way. And art does that.
You have a long cylinder.
Part of the programming and the funding comes from our PTA. They help support students that need some extra help in paying the small amount that we charge to cover the fee for the instruction and the materials. Arts integration definitely addresses the 21st century skills that our students need.
They're learning to communicate and create and collaborate with one another.
Balance it out with a tail on the back. It's been a really great program. They not only get excited about the program, but they get excited to come and show me their pieces. I love to always go to them at the end of it when they bring something back, and it's like, tell me about this. And it allows them to open up and express their creation.
When you add art like everywhere, it makes learning like much more fun. Creativity isn't just important in art, it's important in life too, for everything. It's a different way of learning. It's more fun to do it in your own way.
It's really important to keep that creative energy going, to keep kids' natural curiosity alive and sparked, and connect the dots between what they did during the day and the after school.
All right, our principal, Shauna Kaufman, is with us today. Shauna is going to help further explain what's happening at Arnold Elementary. Shauna?
Hi, this is Shauna Kaufman, and I'm the principal at Arnold Elementary School. We are a school of 430 students, kindergarten through 5th grade. We're located in Maryland. We're a suburb of Annapolis, Maryland, right across the bridge from the Naval Academy. Our focus in our classrooms involves arts integration, so that's a big piece of our daily instruction. It involves lots of different art. We do visual, we incorporate some dance and movement, as well as drama and music. So we try to incorporate that all throughout the day. In the after-school program, we really wanted to extend that so students could enjoy the arts and learn more about the arts outside of school or right after school. So our PTA is a huge support in our after-school program. They actually have a coordinator that works with us and helps us with all of the programs. We also look to our outside organizations, and we try to incorporate different things into the after-school program. So we have lots of great arts integration programs for our after-school programs, but we also include different types of after-school programs as well, which include nature and environment. We do chess, we have math clubs, we have science clubs of creating underwater robots. We do lots of different things. So we try to listen to the students as well and to find out what their interests are. And we look to our community to find out what are the talents of our community members, what are some things that parents can contribute to the school. So it really is a wonderful opportunity for the community to give back to the school and for the school to become part of the community. It's a great relationship that we have, and it's wonderful for students as well as the instructors that come into our school. We do have lots of great opportunities. We've learned to monitor them so they're not from the beginning of first day of school to the end of the school year. We usually limit it to 2 sessions, a fall session and a spring session. And this allows us to really have a break. So students have a choice. They don't have to stay in the same club after school program all year long. They have a choice to change it up if they'd like to on the second session of the school year. And this allows for us to get different instructors at different times as well. So that's been a real big benefit for us, is to have 2 different sessions in the school year. We also had a challenge with transportation. So we have an on-site daycare, and students are able to go to the on-site daycare after our clubs that are after school. So that was a real helpful problem solver, is that parents don't have to come and pick them up right after the club. They can go to the after school daycare that we have right on site. We also learned a few lessons along the way. One of them is to have a backup plan for instructors that can't make it or are sick. So it's important to, when thinking about doing after-school programs, that you have a backup plan for, just like you would for a substitute for a teacher, to maybe have a substitute for an instructor or a club leader. That was helpful as well. We also found out that having a small fee was important. It kind of created an accountability system so that parents were committing their kids to coming to the program. Many times, if there was just a show up, the kids wouldn't be coming consistently, and they'd be losing out on some great opportunities. So we just charge a small fee, and it really just covers materials or instructor fees. And then we have our PTA, which provides stipends for our families who can't afford it. So that's wonderful as well. So we make sure every child has the opportunity to participate. In summary, this after-school program really has expanded. It changes a little bit from year to year depending on the needs of the students, the interests of the students, and the talents that we have in the community. I agree, with Amy that the partnerships are a huge piece of how our after-school programs run, and the success of them really depends on the community and the parent partnerships that we have. The best benefit for our children is that it really allows us to reach the whole child, really all the different aspects of a healthy child, the social, emotional, as well as the physical, getting out and playing, and the teamwork that you learn, as well as the arts, all kind of come together. And it's a great way for students to continue their school day and to maybe fill in some of the missing pieces that we're not able to get in one day. We have some time after school to really reach out and help our students have these great opportunities they normally wouldn't have.
Thank you, Shauna. We appreciate that. A lot of great ideas that are there and how we can tap into the resources that are around us. And I particularly like the way that you talked about that although it is fee-based, you still make a way for those who are unable to pay the fee. So thank you for doing that, all that you're doing to help your students there. It takes the collective effort of all educators when we're providing these quality learning experiences, and we all have something to contribute. And we're delighted today to have Andy Lindsay. Andy is the assistant principal of Owen Intermediate School in Belleville, Michigan. And Andy's going to share a middle level leadership perspective with us. Andy?
Hi. So I'm actually at an intermediate school, grades 5 and 6. There's about 685 students in our building. And we are somewhere between suburban and rural school district. And so we have a number of issues with kids after school. We dismiss at 3:40. We got a lot of families that they, dual incomes, they work until 5. And so we got that gap of time, that trouble gap between 3:40 and 5 o'clock. So we try to fill that with as much as we can, and we want kids to be involved. And we do that. Can I get to the next slide, please? We do that in a number of ways. Our choir, we have all students here at Owen Intermediate have either band or music throughout the year. And so our general music is always prepping for a choir concert or something like that. We have band, they're doing rehearsals right now after school. The second bullet point there, the Girls That Rock mentorship program, that was on Fridays after school. That just finished. That's been going all school year long. That is where we have high school girls come in and provide mentorship to some of our girls here in the grades in 5 and 6. Student clubs, the two big ones were poetry and chess. The chess club was actually run by our superintendent, who came here every Monday for the last number of months. The poetry club, at first glance, some people might assume that poetry might not be that appealing to students, but our poetry leader is one of our staff members who's really into hip hop and rap. So poetry is looked at through the lens of hip hop and rap. So it is very popular as kids are getting on stage and performing their poetry, which also usually has a little bit of a beat to it. our activity afternoons are, we do that 3 or 4 times a year, not too often. We open up our gym. We have what's called our Tiger Den. That's where we have video games. We got air hockey. We've got foosball. It's a lot of fun. We have some other school outings. Sky Zone is a trampoline park, and we'll organize those. Something else that we do is community connections. We typically do that right around now. We bring in community members that are professional photographers or maybe have a dance studio, and they work with kids and they provide like real life expertise. And then finally, before I talk about our the crown jewel of what we do, our intramural program, we also have at 3 different times a year, we run a basketball, a football, and a volleyball academy. Those are for either gender. They are 6 weeks. We run them after school twice a week and often on Saturdays. And we get college students as well as staff members that help us run those. But our biggest thing that we offer our kids is something called intramurals. Can I get the next slide, please? Intramurals are 90 minutes after school. So we run it from about 3:50 p.m. to 5:20 p.m. Teachers are paid for this. So this is run by the teachers, and teachers are compensated for this. They get $200 a week. So we have about anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 that we invest in this intramural program each year. It's expensive, but the feedback we get and the experience that the kids get makes it worth it. At this point in the school year, we figure about 75%, which is when you think about a student body of almost 700 students, about 75% of our students have participated in at least one intramural. An intramural is 1 week long. So on a 5-day week, we typically run it Monday through Thursday, like I said, from 3:50 to 5:20, and every week is a different activity. So we run a permission slip. We send it out a week in advance. If you're interested in badminton, we're going to run it with Mr. Roloff next week. Sign up. 90% of our parents and students view this favorably. The other 10% are students that may not have been involved. Things like my son thinks it's a great program, and the parent thinks it's beneficial for extra school activities. They enjoy that the students get a chance to interact with other kids that are not necessarily in their class. This is a great program that you have a place for kids. All of our teachers, 100% of our teachers view our intramural program favorably. They love to get kids exploring, challenging themselves, experimenting. They like doing fun things with kids, just seeing the kids in a different light. This one teacher said, "I like to think I'm igniting an unknown passion and not just providing daycare." And if you can look at all the different types of activities that we have planned or that we've done already this year, and we have more planned, we go from badminton to floor hockey. You'll see good eats and nutritious treats. We had kids cooking during our intramural activity. You'll see Clash Royale. That means that kids are on electronics playing games. Legos, story publishing, STEM. We want to provide a wide variety of activities so that kids want to participate. The intramural program here at Owen is something that we really don't have to sell it to the kids. They sell it to themselves by being excited about it. There are many activities that we actually have to limit how many students can participate because we just don't have enough seats. Or sometimes if that happens, we get more teachers involved. And sometimes these things spin off into different things. Like, for instance, we now have, because of our good eats and nutritional treats intramural activity, we now have something called the Association for Healthy Eating. So we have a student association that is dedicated to promoting healthy eating habits. The intramural programs, it's great for parents because a lot of our parents that get out of work at 5, it provides gap coverage between 3:50 and 5:20. The teachers love it. The kids love it. It's just a win-win-win. And if anyone has any questions about how we do intramurals, I invite you to send me an email or hit me up on Twitter. I love the ideas that the other principals have provided. this is important stuff for our kids. Like Amy said, the well-rounded student. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, and we totally agree. That's why we have invested the time and the resources and the efforts in advancing this. So those of you that are joining us today, you may be wondering, well, where are these videos? Where are some of these materials and resources that are available, to help me as a program leader? So no worries, NASP has you covered with the help of the Mott Foundation. So LaGloria, if you'll take us to our portal, let's look very quickly at the portal and the resources that are there and that are available for us. You will find these on the NASP website. If you go to resources, which LaGloria has there, and then click After School and Summer Learning, it will carry you to this site. And on this site, you'll see at the top, there are, I call them tabs, headings. There you go, LaGloria. Click on the state resources. When you see that state resource, it will be a map of the United States. You can click your state specific, and when you pick it up, it'll open for you the different things, the standards that you have, what research and policy and funding looks like in your state, different activities that are specific for your state. So those are, regardless of what your state is, that's, helpful resources that are there. The next tab is best practices videos. That's where LaGloria launched that we watched those earlier. But there are different videos that are there on different topics. You could click those videos and see what those schools are doing. Maybe just pick up one little idea of something that you could tweak to work in your school or in your district. The next tab is After School Resources. When you click that After School Resource tab, it puts a wealth of journal articles, of magazines. You'll see the top one that's listed there, the Principal Magazine After School Learning Supplement. That's the supplement that we showed you at the beginning of today's summit. When you actually click that, it will open. There are countless other articles and resources that are there under available resources. If you scroll on down, LaGloria, to the bottom, I just want to quickly mention that each of these areas and categories at the bottom can also be expanded, and there are specific articles and research that are aligned to that particular topic or that heading. So that's just additional resources that are embedded there. So don't forget to look down there if you're looking for something in particular. The next tab at the top, Leading After School Programs. You'll be particularly interested in this tab because this is a toolkit of 9 different tools that are available to you. How you can promote your after school. What does the research say? What kind of things do you need to be considering as you're developing and expanding your program? Where are the resources? An assessment. There's a call to action toolkit that's there. And then the last tool that's there is like the myths and the realities, because as you have these conversations and try to bring people on board and build those partnerships, many people, have a misunderstanding about what after school, quality after school and summer learning looks like. So that can kind of help you get a heads up on the things that you may be encountering so you can have those informed conversations to build those partnerships. And then the last tab that you will see at the top is the Summer Learning Resource tab. When you click that, it's additional resources that are available. This is where you can actually say, how do I get started if I'm not there yet? How can, I keep this going? What kind of evaluation tools are available? Andy, when he was speaking, I was thinking, wow, I'd love to see his evaluation instrument, because you can tell that they've really, honed in on that to know the percentage of faculty and staff and students. And I'm sure, all leaders of programs do that. But, those types of information, why reinvent the wheel when those things are already available for you? Or how can you take those resources and tweak it for your specific school? Maybe you don't want to include all of those. But when you look at people that have led quality after school and summer learning programs, it's helpful to see the kinds of things that they ask on those surveys, and that may spark an idea that, maybe I've never thought about that. That may be some needed information that I have. So only a click away, and you have all those resources available to you. They are an open source, so as you have those conversations with other administrators or program directors across your district, across your state, across the United States, feel free to share this, because this is exactly what it's for. It's to help leaders, to help students, to expand programs. So we're honored that you have chosen to work with us and to expand your after-school and summer learning efforts. But we want this to be just the beginning. We want you to extend your learning and to join us at our upcoming annual conference, which will be in Orlando on July the 9th through the 11th, as we lead, learn, and rethink about what we're doing. We will have countless sessions that will help in the advancement of leaders who are trying to expand their quality of learning as leaders, and then to lead those for our students as well. Registration is available on the link that you see displayed in front of you, so we hope to see you there. And at this time, we would like to entertain any questions that you may have. So if you would just post those in the chat box, maybe to a specific presenter today that you would like some additional information, or maybe just a question in general that you may have. Feel free to post those there, and we'll circle back to those. But as people are thinking about their questions and possibly posting those there, I would like to ask the presenters today just one overarching question. If you had just one key piece of advice that you would share with people that are leading after-school and learning programs, what would that one key piece of advice be based on your expertise and what you're leading in your school?
Well, I think that the important thing at Owen is that the leaders know why they want to do an activity. Because if they know their why, the passion for what they're getting ready to do is what gets the kids excited. And then when the kids are excited, that it's a wonderful spiral effect that just uplifts everyone. And so kind of come back to, what's my purpose here? What is my goal? Is my goal merely to cover that time between 3, 4, and 5 o'clock? Or is it to get kids excited about something that I'm excited about too, and so we can have an experience to share?
This is Amy Gale, and I would say similar to that response, as I talked about when I spoke, just the opportunity for school day staff to bring their passions and their hobbies and interests into the after-school program and into a setting where students get to know them in a different light. It's not the traditional teacher-student relationship, it's a different relationship. And students get to see how this adult has followed their passions, and they get to learn from them in a different setting. And so if the after-school program can provide the infrastructure and take care of the details and open the way for school day staff to explore with students interests and passions, then I think that will provide so much energy and enthusiasm for your program to take off.
This is Shauna. I agree with Amy and Andy that really having a passion for something and sharing it with the students is key to success in the after-school program. And I would also encourage you to think outside the box and think of all the different areas and careers that our community offers, and to really reach out and think, hey, that might be a great after-school program, and you have a passion for it. Maybe that's something that we can add to our school and offer at our school. So make sure you think beyond the traditional after-school programs. And I saw some great examples of that today from the other schools, and I might take some of those ideas and incorporate them into my own school.
Great, thank you. Just one more question. All of you you talked about, building the capacity among your staff and how you would use the faculty and staff interest basically as a launch pad, but in alignment with your student interest. My question would be, how do you capture this? How did you go about finding out what your staff and student interests were?
This is Amy Gale. I'll respond to that. We regularly give students an opportunity to give feedback about how the after-school program is doing, if they like the activities that they've been involved in, and what they would like to see that we're not already offering. So we take that information really seriously. We also give parents the same opportunity to give feedback, and we review that information and take note of what it is that's been popular and what we see that kids would like the opportunities to do. And we also do the same thing during the school day. Students have an opportunity, especially in the middle school, to provide us feedback around what interests they have. And we also pursue our staff for those same kinds of things to understand what interests outside of their content area they have. And then we just pair those up and provide opportunities and give students a chance to pursue their interests alongside staff members who have that interest also.
Is it a verbal interest inventory, or is it an electronic or paper survey? How is that actually captured?
It's captured either two different ways, electronically or on paper.
Okay.
So we do those regularly, and then we have an opportunity to, over time, look at what continues to be popular and what interests maybe have changed.
Right. And many times I think, some of our best leaders are quite timid, and they may have talents that are hidden to us, but it may be, very obvious to them, or it may be very obvious to them. So many times it's kind of like just, looking into seeing the potential of leaders within our classrooms. Shauna, Andy, do you have anything to weigh in on this as to how you actually, bring those staff interests and how you capture that interest?
Yeah, I think this is Shauna, and I think that it's a lot of times conversations that I just have with my staff as I get to know them and the outside interests that they have. One used to be a dancer, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is great. Have you ever thought about leading an after-school dance club? And I think once you start probing and asking some questions about their background and their talents and just kind of having those conversations tends to get things going. And I always say, well, why don't you just try it once and let's see how it goes. So people are kind of willing to do it if you say, why don't you just try it and see how it goes. There's not a long-term commitment. That sometimes helps out a little bit, or even pairing people up. Maybe having co-leaders, that's helpful in some situations. So maybe they can't commit to a long-term or every week or every day, but they can team up and do it together. And that's great for creativity and showing students that you can work together as well.
And to go along with that, there's kind of two paths that I see in this way. One is as you get to know your staff and you building culture with your staff and with your students, the staff just seem to be more willing to invest a little bit of themselves into the school, and it's just a wonderful way of tapping that hidden resource, and it just builds that sense of culture in a building. So there is that. The other is we know what's popular and what's not by the foot traffic, and we've done Intramurals now, I think, for 6 or 7 years here at Owen, and the things that don't attract kids, well, we look at different options. And so we have a giant Google spreadsheet. We put it out there. Teachers kind of claim a week that works for them and the activity that they're interested in. And, we kind of follow up with the teacher and say, how is this going to work? They tell us. And so they own it. It's theirs. It's their passion. And they sell it to the kids. And it's a successful program.
We have a question.
Great. Yes, okay.
We are required by our state to connect activities to reading and math. Is that something that you need to be aware of in your districts?
So at Owen, we don't have that requirement. So our intramural is very much more geared toward addressing some of the other aspects of the whole child, where we are promoting positive social relationships, not just between students and students, but also students and staff. So there is definitely a benefit to this because of the way it builds our school culture. Some of the things that we do have direct academic connections, and some of them, well, I'll be honest, I would be stretched to understand the mathematical or the more reading impacts of dodgeball, but it's a lot of fun.
I would say, this is Amy Gale from Vermont. We have clear outcomes for all of the activities that we do, but they're not necessarily directly tied to reading or math. They are tied to certain other outcomes. For example, you know, the volleyball example would be maybe sportsmanship, or some of those softer skills that we want students to be developing. So we are definitely looking for outcomes, but they're not always quantifiable in reading or math. However, we definitely overall look at participants in our program as showing a reflection and an increase in their scores, their assessment scores. So we do look at that, and we see a benefit there.
I would agree. In Maryland, we aren't required to have standards for our after-school programs. However, you can see alignment, and really we work towards the whole child and the 21st century skills. Becoming a learner and a better learner requires a lot of different skills that aren't necessarily in a standard, but as the students learn to become better at the different skills, then they increase on the standards, most of the standards. So I would say that you may not be able to do a direct correlation to state standards or Common Core standards, but you definitely can see an improvement with the child as a learner.
Great, thank you. LaGloria, are there other questions?
There's not anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, this will conclude today's conversation, but don't forget to register and join us next Tuesday for our final virtual summit, and also for our summer conference that will be in July. Many thanks once again to Amy, to Shauna, to Andrew, and LaGloria for helping us with the webinar today, and most importantly, thank you for participating. If NASP can ever assist any of you, please feel free to reach out. Thank you, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you.